Hello, my name is Sandra, known as gain_strength_ on all social media platforms, and welcome to today's video. As you guys might recall, I did my first ever HYROX race several months ago, and I'll link that video up here for you guys so you can check it out. And I kind of wanted to talk about what to expect on your first HYROX race. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to book my next HYROX race because they do sell out super fast, and I just haven't been able to score any tickets, so I am still waiting to hopefully get another one in sometime in the first half of 2025. Otherwise, I will have to wait until the next season starts in the fall. But let's talk about HYROX. First of all, what is HYROX? I'm sure you guys have heard a lot about HYROX on social media, on YouTube, on all the platforms, and maybe it sounds something interesting to you, or maybe you have no idea what it is. So it is basically a race where you run 8 kilometers and in between each kilometer you do a station. The first thing you do when you start off is you're going to run 1 kilometer, which 1 kilometer for us that are here in the US, that means it's 0.62 miles. Then you're gonna transition into a 1,000 meter ski erg, and you're gonna do the ski erg, then you're gonna go into another kilometer run. The second station is a 50 meter sled push. The third station is a 50 meter sled pull. And then from there, station 4 is a 80 meter burpee broad jump. So you do a burpee, you jump, you do another burpee, you jump. That's 80 meters. Remember, you're gonna be running 1 kilometer between all these stations. The next station is a 1,000 meter row. The next station is gonna be a 200 meter farmer carries. So you're carrying 2 dumbbells. Depending on which class you do, that will depend on the weight that you use throughout the whole race. Then you're gonna do 100 meter sandbag lunges. So you're gonna have a sandbag on your back and you're gonna be doing walking lunges for 100 meters. And the final station to top it all off is 100 wall balls. That's basically what makes up a HYROX race. Again, you're gonna be running a lot, and then you're gonna have some weight stations sprinkled in. And like I mentioned, the weight that you use, for example, in the lunges, the farmer carries, the wall balls, the sled push and pull, will depend on which division you sign up for. So there's the open, which is the one that I did on my first race. That is going to be lighter weight than the pro division. The pro division, the stuff is going to be heavier. Now, keep in mind that the word pro doesn't necessarily mean that you are a professional athlete. Anybody can sign up for a pro if you wanted. Just keep in mind that the weights will be heavier. And then there's different divisions where you can pair as a double. So 2 men or 2 women, or there's the mixed category where it's 1 male, 1 female. But the weights will vary again, depending which division you sign up for. That is what HYROX is. So as you can tell, it's very intense. Typically, people are running for at least a minimum of an hour. The elites, so like the elite 15, can go from 55 minutes to maybe an hour tops. Like they are the top of the top. And then you have your everyday person like me who took way longer than an hour to complete it. So if you're thinking about doing your HYROX, now you know what it is. My number 1 tip for you is to have a training plan. Like I mentioned, this is a very intense endurance type of race and you need to prepare for it. Personally, wouldn't recommend just doing a HYROX just with no training. At least you have to be good at running. Granted, I am not the fastest runner. I'm not the best runner out there, but at least get comfortable with running 5 miles. However, I would recommend that you practice running with heavy legs. So what does that mean? I'm talking about compromised running. So you have to get comfortable with the idea that after I've been running 1 kilometer, I have to do a 100 meter sandbag lunges and survive. That was probably my hardest station, was a sandbag lunges. So again, get comfortable with the idea that your legs are going to be tired, especially as you get farther and farther down into the different stations. You're going to get more tired. Your legs are going to blow up. And so that's what I mean by being comfortable with compromised running. So when it comes to your training, how would you incorporate this compromise running? Well, first of all, if you're following some kind of training plan, which I heavily recommend, you should practice running after squatting, running after lunges, running after rowing. Get used to pushing and pulling a heavy sled before and after running. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that you just practice by doing HYROX simulations. That's honestly not the best approach to training for a HYROX. There is some more skill or thought process that goes into training for a HYROX race. So what I did, I was actually training for a half marathon that was going to happen about 2 months before my HYROX race. So that was what I used as my running training plan. And then I did end up purchasing the training programs from actual HYROX to prepare me for my actual race. I first got the generic, more of a generic engine building program, and then 8 weeks out of my HYROX race, I did purchase their 8-week specific HYROX training program. And I found that to be very helpful, especially for someone who is new to the concept of this. Like, I'm used to just your typical weightlifting. You go to the gym, you have sets, you have reps, you rest a little here, you rest a little there, and then that's your workout. This type of training is very high intensity, very short breaks. Your heart rate is through the roof, probably from the start of your workout, for your workout of the day. So I had actually a lot to kind of prepare my body for the HYROX race. But I found that the training programs from actual HYROX just worked fine for me, and I was able to adjust it based on how many days I wanted to train for HYROX or what my week looked like. So that is an option for you if that's kind of the route you want to go. I know that there's obviously lots of coaches out there that have come out with HYROX training programs that might work best for you. I would just recommend that you find something that's structured and just follow that. So again, work on improving your strength, work on improving your skills with functional movements, and above all else, running. Running is a big component of this race. My next tip for you guys is to know the stations. Granted, when you get there, there are signs that will tell you this is station 1, this is station 2, 3, but you have to get comfortable with the idea of what that station is and what it requires of you. Something that I don't think I've shared it with you guys, but after the first run that I did, coming out of the start tunnel and then going into the ski erg, guys, the ski erg, for whatever reason, it did not go how I thought it would go, and it was the first station. I just remember being at the ski erg station and, doing the station, and in my head, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, did I make a mistake coming here? Did I make a mistake signing up for this race? And I remember my husband was literally right in front of me in the spectator area, and he was just cheering me on the whole time and telling me I could do it, I could do it. I didn't even want to look at him in the face just because I felt so defeated and already exhausted. So don't let that happen to you. Get comfortable with that, with each of the stations. Get comfortable with pushing a heavy sled, pulling a heavy sled. Obviously, race day, things might go very differently for you, but at least you kind of have an idea of the stations and what to prepare for. And practice your form. Just practice your form on the ski erg, practice your form on the rower. You are on that erg for 1,000 meters, which can be a lot of time. And if your form isn't the best, it can affect the efficiency of you during the race. And remember, you kind of want to be as strategic and effectively with your form while you're in the stations so that it doesn't catch up to you during your runs. So you have to be practicing that form. I struggled with the ski erg. I think one of the reasons was because the gym that I was going to, where I originally started practicing or training for my HYROX, didn't have a ski erg, and I don't have a ski erg at home, so it really limited how often I could do a ski erg at like the new gym that we started going to maybe 2 or 3 months before my actual race. And that's when I was able to practice the ski erg. But even then, like, my time on the ski erg was very limited. The rower, I think I felt a little bit more comfortable just because I had access to a rower the entire time. So practice your form on the ergs. Don't consider it such an easy station that you don't have to practice it, because it will come back to bite you during your actual race. Another thing is to work on your grip strength, which will be very important for your farmer carries. I carried two 35-pound dumbbells, but focus on your grip strength, because again, you don't want to underestimate any of the stations, and the farmer carries can be one that we can maybe just think, oh, that one's just easy, I'm just carrying 2 dumbbells. But honestly, like, you're deep into the race at the point where you go into the farmer carries. It can come back to bite you if you haven't worked on your grip strength. And guys, practice those wall balls. The wall ball station is the last station of the race. You are going to be tired. You are going to be fatigued. You don't want to get to the wall ball station and just not have the capacity to finish it. Like, you have to finish that wall ball station. That's the last thing you need to do before you cross to the finish line and you're done with the race. So again, practice those wall balls. Just be mentally prepared for the discomfort and the pain that you might feel actually training for HYROX and the actual HYROX race. It is going to be painful. It is going to be tough. There will be moments where you question, why am I doing this? There will be moments where you might just want to pull out. Don't do that. But just be mentally prepared for that. Especially if you've done the training, you'll have an idea somewhat of how tough it can be. But just think of this as going to be maybe an hour, more than an hour long of a workout, high intensity workout. So just mentally prepare for that. I knew that it was going to be tough and I knew it was going to be hard, but it was something completely different. I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I loved it. I enjoyed every moment of it, but it is tough. It is going to be a tough race. Let's change gears a little bit and talk about nutrition and hydration. These are very big, important topics that, based on like some of the videos I've seen, based on some of the videos that I've watched or things I've seen online, both social media and YouTube, I feel like this topic doesn't get talked about much, and I think it's such a big important piece of, especially race day or leading up to race day, that I think it's important we talk about it, at least a little bit. Make sure that you fuel up for your training. You want to make sure that you are fueling yourself properly. Again, these workouts, these training sessions are going to be intense. They are going to be very demanding of you, and you need to make sure that you're eating enough, which also helps your recovery. This probably wouldn't be a time for you to be trying to be in a calorie deficit. Again, you want to get to race day feeling your best. You want to perform your best, and eating is going to help with that. Fueling is going to be such a big impact on how well you do at the race. And also hydration. Drink lots of water during your training sessions. Add in electrolytes into your water. I did end up purchasing some electrolytes. Like I said, I was training for a half marathon while I was training for HYROX, and I was training for a half marathon in the summertime in Minnesota. If you're from here, then you know that sometimes you get up at 6 in the morning hoping to beat the heat, and it's already humid outside, and so you're sweating a lot, and you're sweating a lot during your workouts, and you just want to make sure that your hydration levels stay at an optimal level, including electrolytes. So let's talk about the week leading up to your actual HYROX race. What should you do? What should you expect? First of all, this should be a taper week. What does that mean? That means that you should back off from your training at least a little bit. And if you're following a structured training program, they will do it for you. It'll have you just back off from your training a little bit, not completely, but just a little bit, so that you're not demanding so much for your body that by the time race day comes at the end of the week, you have no energy, you're fatigued. But you should not be going walls to balls during this week. Think of it this way: the work has already been done. What you do this week before your race won't have that much impact on your performance. If anything, it could impact you negatively by the time you reach race day if you're just going all out during this week, or hopefully it doesn't get to it, but even leading to injuries because you've been training at such a high capacity this whole time and you're thinking, oh my gosh, on Saturday is my race, I am going to go all out this week, and then you get injured. So let's not do that. and your nutrition. Again, this is not the time to be in a calorie deficit, but you need to be eating to maintain your performance levels. Your body needs the fuel, and this week, carbs will be your best friend. I increased my carbs maybe 3 days before the race, and I had a big pasta, delicious meal the night before that really helped fuel my race day. And again, hydration, we're talking about the week leading up to your race. You want to keep maintaining your hydration levels up, including electrolytes. Please don't wait until the day before your race or even race day to start chugging water and drinking electrolytes, because that probably most likely will not help you or benefit you in any way. And recovery is also very important during this week. Sleep, sleep, sleep as much as you can, because that is the biggest tool that you have to improve your recovery. Make sure that you're stretching before and after your sessions. I like to do dynamic stretching and mobility work the day before my race. Granted, I've only done one HYROX, but I also do this when I do my normal road races. Now, race day is here. What do you do during race day? So I wasn't able to do early check-in because by the time we made it into Chicago, early check-in had already closed. But if you're able to get there a day or whenever early registration or early check-in is for your race, I definitely recommend doing that. I don't know if the lines will be longer or shorter on early check-in or on race day, but you kind of just have to make a decision and go with it. Now, if your race is towards the end of the day, which mine race was in the evening, I think I started at maybe 5 p.m. Try to stay off your feet as much as possible. When we go to Chicago, we like to explore, we like to walk everywhere, but this time, honestly, I didn't do much the day of my race. I think we went out for breakfast, went back to the hotel room and just chilled there for a bit. I did some mobility work and basically just mentally prepared for the actual race. But again, try to stay off your feet, save that energy for the actual race. Another thing that you will want to do is to drink electrolytes throughout the day. How much electrolytes should you be taking? Honestly, that will depend on you, what your hydration plan is, or how well you do with electrolytes. I think I didn't take that many, but I've heard some people that will take 3 packets of electrolytes. For me, I think that would be too much, so I didn't do that. But you know yourself, you know your body. Again, by this point, you should have been hydrating all along, so try to not stress too much about it, but definitely drink water and some electrolytes. Now, I recommend that you have your last meal maybe 3 hours before your actual race. This gives you enough time for the food to digest and not be so heavily on your stomach that when you come to race day, you're maybe feeling too full or unable to move well because you feel just so full. Now, I did bring food with me, which was my meal before my race. I've never done that. I have never traveled with food other than like a protein bar or a banana or a quick little snack like that for the airport. I've never traveled with food, and this was the first time. It felt really weird, but that's what I ate. I was just paranoid of eating something that maybe wouldn't sit well on my stomach and it would catch up to me during the actual race. So I prepared a meal here at home, and then I just brought it with me and I warmed it up in the microwave in the hotel. And then about an hour before the race, I had another snack. I had a banana and something else. I don't quite remember what it was, but I needed some carbs for that fuel, and so that's what I had. And then 30 minutes before the race start, I took my supplements. So I took creatine, pre-workout, and I think some electrolytes. Another random thing is make sure you use the restroom one last time before actually starting the race, but keep in mind the setup of your venue. When we were in Chicago, the entrance into the venue from like the lobby area was packed and you had to wait a lot. So I kept that in mind so that I could use the restroom one last time before the actual race starts. So just be aware of where the restroom is or what the restroom situation is so that by the time your start time comes, you're not still waiting in line. And you also want enough time to actually warm up for the race. You don't want to go from you know, just hanging out in your hotel room or checking out the venue, checking out the actual HYROX setup, and then go straight into the start tunnel without warming up. I had never actually tried sleds, like the HYROX sleds, so this was a perfect time for me to kind of get comfortable with them, play around with the rope I mentioned earlier, and just learn how to use the equipment. They'll have skiers, they might have treadmills there, they'll have rowers, I think maybe some dumbbells or kettlebells. Just warm up. By this point, again, you should know how to warm up for your actual race. And now, race day is not the day to try a new outfit, to try new shoes, to try new things with your nutrition. Don't try anything new on race day. Granted, if you're traveling like I did, nutrition might be a little bit weird because chances are you're going to be eating out before the race, but just be smart about it, guys. So now we're warmed up, we're heading into the start tunnel. The start tunnel is such a cool experience and such a cool vibe to just be surrounded by other people. I was with just women in the start tunnel, and it felt really amazing and just so cool to be surrounded by all these strong, powerful women. And we're about to race. Granted, they were kind of my competition, you could say, because it is a race at the end of the day, but it was such a cool experience to be in the start tunnel. 1, 2, 3, and you're off. Pace yourself. I know you'll be pumped up, you'll be super hyped up, and you will have a lot of adrenaline, but don't let that affect your pace. Keep your pace in mind because you don't want to go super hot out and then you end up blowing up way too early in the race. And just enjoy the race, have fun, leave it all out on the floor. You've been training for this race for so long and the day is here. Have fun, enjoy it. It is such a fun experience. It's hard, but it is such a fun experience to have. Another thing is to just keep in mind how much time you spend in the HYROX zone. The HYROX zone is after you do your laps, there's like an in sign and you walk in, but then you still have to get to each of the stations, and all of that time counts towards your total time, so don't spend too much time there. Honestly, I spent that as like my recovery and I walked a lot of it, but try to not do that as much as possible just so that your time ends up being less and you spend less time just walking or wasting time. And around the running track, there will be screens. So as you're running, take a look at the screen because it'll tell you where you are. If you have any penalties, it'll tell you there. And then let's say you have a penalty for your runs. Maybe you didn't do the full laps and now you know, hey, I didn't do a lap, so make sure that the next time I'm running I do all of the laps, because you do get penalized for doing things wrong or missing steps, missing stations. You'll get penalized, which affects your overall time, and we don't want that. Just pay attention. That's why I'm saying know the stations, know the course. They will provide you with a map of the course before the actual race, so study that. And in the tunnel, they kind of give you a brief overview too, especially the running, I think, is the more confusing part of how many laps you're supposed to do. But again, just read the maps, read the email they send you with the information. The day before the actual race, they do go live on social media and kind of show you what the layout is, and they go over each of the stations. They talk about the running, so keep that in mind as well. And that's it. That's all I have for you guys. I'm hoping that I'm able to sign up for another HYROX race, like I mentioned, this first half of 2025. I don't know if that'll be possible or not. Fingers crossed that I can. Otherwise, sometime in the fall will be my next race. And if you guys enjoyed this video, or if you have any other HYROX questions, drop it in the comment section. I want to hear from you guys. I want to know, have you ever done a HYROX race? Have you considered doing one? Any other questions you might have? Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you're not subscribed, and I will catch up with you guys in my next video. And don't forget, you're stronger than your mind lets you think.